Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you.
Possible to predict the time when confidence will be lost, but it can come quickly. Resorting to buying other paper currencies will not be of much help. When the dollar crashes, most likely the purchasing power of all currencies, since all currencies hold dollars as a reserve, will go down as well. This means that dollars and other currencies will go into buying consumer items, precious metals, and other physical properties. Consumer prices will soar, as well as interest rates. The central bank will lose control, and the more they inflate, the worse the confidence becomes.
Mr. Powell, the subcommittee chair, for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, we hear that in the future we're going to have a better economy, and everybody hopes so, but it's hard to believe. It's hard for me to believe anyway, because I look back on our past 3 years, and what Congress has done and what the Fed has done, we've literally injected about $5.3 trillion, and I don't think we got very much for it. The national debt went up $5.1 trillion. Real GDP grew less than 1%. So I don't think we've gotten a whole lot. Unemployment really hasn't recovered. We still have 7 million people that have become unemployed. And one statistic that is very glaring, if you look at the chart, is how long people are unemployed. The average time used to be 17 weeks. Now it's nearly 40 weeks they stay unemployed. So nothing there reassures me. And also, when we talk about prices, we're always reassured there's not all that much inflation, and we're told that they might start calculating inflation differently with a new CPI. Of course, we changed our CPI a few years back. There's still a free market group that calculates the CPI the old-fashioned way, and they come up with a figure, in spite of all this weak economy, the prices have gone up 35%, 9.4% every year. And I think if you just went out and talked to the average housewife, she'd probably believe the 9% rather see. Spending all this money hasn't helped, and yet many allies that would endorse so much of what's been going on, whether it's the Fed or the Congress, they recognize that consumer spending is very, very important, and they concentrate on that. But the $5.1 trillion didn't go to the consumers. It went to buying bad assets. It went to bailing out banks. It went to bailing out big companies. And lo and behold, the consumer didn't end up getting this. They lost their job, and they lost their houses and mortgages, and they're still in trouble. But my question is, if you took that $5.1 trillion and said that consumer spending is good, you could have given every single person in this country $17,000. Why is it the program of both the Congress and the Fed to direct the money to the people who have been making a lot of money, instead to the people who, if you argue that the consumer needs to spend the money, I obviously don't advocate this, but I would suggest, you know, maybe it could have worked better. It couldn't have worked any worse. But what is the reason we direct it toward the banks and the big corporations, too big to fail, and we don't pay that much attention to the consumer if it's true, and I don't know if you agree with that or not, that consumer spending is an important issue?
Well, it is an important issue, Congressman, but you're mistaken in saying that the Federal Reserve has spent any money. You say $5 trillion. We have lent money. We have purchased securities. That's not buying, that's not dissipating, you know, the money. We've gotten all the money back. As an article over the weekend by Alan Sloan showed, in fact, the Fed has been a major profit center for the U.S. government. We've turned over profits in the last 2 years of $125 billion. So we are not costing any money in terms of budget deficits or anything like that. In terms of what we were trying to do, of course, the reason the Federal Reserve was founded a century ago was to try to address the problems arising from financial panics, which did, by the way, occur in an unregulated environment in the 19th century. We provided liquidity and short-term loans to help financial systems stabilize. We did that not because we particularly care about the managers or the shareholders of financial firms,
I hate to interrupt, but my time is about up. But I would like to suggest that you say it's not spending money. Well, it's money out of thin air. You put it into the market and you hold assets, and the assets aren't, you know, they are diminishing in value when you buy up bad assets. But very quickly, if you could answer another question, because I'm curious about this. You know, the price of gold today is $1,580. The dollar during these last 3 years was devalued almost 50%. When you wake up in the morning, do you care about the price of gold?
Well, I pay attention to the price of gold, but I think it reflects a lot of things. It reflects global uncertainties. I think the reason people hold gold is as a protection against what we call tail risk, really, really bad outcomes. And to the extent that the last few years have made people more worried about the potential of a major crisis, then they have gold as a protection.
Do you think gold is money?
No.
It's not money. Even if it has been money for 6,000 years, somebody reversed that and eliminated that economic law.
Well, it's an asset. I mean, it's the same. Would you say Treasury bills are money? I don't think they're money either, but they're a financial asset.
Why do central banks hold it?
Well, it's a form of reserves.
Why don't they hold diamonds?
Well, it's tradition, long-term tradition.
Well, some people still think it's money.
That there's a willingness to talk and try to work things out, and I think that is very positive. I always think that people who aren't willing to talk are insecure. I think it's good that you got rid of the war on the term war on terrorism. How can you have war against a tactic? I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Still sorting out everything we've inherited and trying to make sense of it. You know, nobody wanted us to talk to, which is a sea shift in how we are for ways to engage with those who nobody wanted us to talk to, which is a...
Is it ever reasonable to restrict constitutional freedoms in the name of fighting terrorism?
In our opinion, no.
The majority was elected on a pledge of fiscal responsibility, but so far it's acting like a teenager with a new credit card.
Jon Stewart, I don't know if he's a supporter or not, but he's really gouges the media for not paying attention and being just easily distracted.
I doubt if he is. We've had conversations, and he's pretty moderate, you know, on some of the entitlement systems. But I think he doesn't like hypocrites, and he likes to be honest. And when people, you know, are dishonest or hypocritical, I think he likes to poke a lot of fun at them.
Oh, well, that explains it.
Yeah, maybe it's good for ratings. But no, I consider him very friendly in a philosophic sense that he gives me fair time. And he's had me on his show, I think, 3 times.
Why are they so scared of Ron Paul?
Well, Ron Paul makes a lot of sense, and more people ought to listen to him.
It's time we quit this. It's time. It's trillions of dollars we're spending on these wars. You've heard the war propaganda that is liable to lead us into the 6th war, and I worry about that position. Iran does not have an air force that can come here. They can't even make enough gasoline for themselves.
As the race for the Republican nomination heats up, there is one candidate who has been largely ignored by the mainstream media. Shame on us. He deserves more attention from us than he's getting.
They're in absolute panic mode because they've looked at the numbers, and they know Ron Paul is the real front runner in the 2012 election.
We have a top tier. It is Mitt Romney, Rick Perry, and Michelle Bachmann.
We have a new top tier, and it's Perry, Mitt Romney, and Bachmann.
There's now a top tier in this race, at least for now, of Romney, Perry, and Bachmann.
I think that's fair to say. Really fair to say? You're not forgetting, I don't know, anyone, say an ideologically consistent 12-term congressman who came within less than 200 votes of winning a straw poll? Isn't anyone going to give that gentleman a little vote?
When Ron Paul ran for the Republican nomination in 2008, he talked about the economy imploding, the untenable nature of the national debt, the eventual destruction of our currency, and the limited role for government. In the 4 years since then, a lot of the things Ron Paul warned us about have happened. We're deeper in debt, a lot deeper. The dollar is worth quite a bit less, and the country is more divided maybe than at any time since the Civil War.
Pretending Ron Paul doesn't exist for some reason has been going on for weeks.
A new Gallup survey showing Rick Perry running second to Mitt Romney, knocking down Iowa favorite Michelle Bachmann to fourth.
Behind who? The media does remember Ron Paul. It's only to reassure themselves how there's no need to remember Ron Paul. Right now, live, right next to the bus behind us, Ron Paul is speaking.
And guess what, Paul? If you get video of Sarah Palin or get a soundbite from her, bring that back to us. You can hold the Ron Paul stuff.
If ever a presidential hopeful embodies a notion of personal freedom and fidelity to the Constitution, it would be Texas Republican Congressman Ron Paul.
He's gotten more money from the military than all the other Republicans combined, and he's gotten more than Obama got. Think about that.
You set the record.